Your bank is not one company. It is six companies wearing the same logo, and which one you get is decided by a number it can see and you try not to look at. Walk through the glass doors with nothing in your account, and it is a company that charges you $35 for being 20 short. Walk through the same doors with 25 million, and it is a company that waives every fee you have and hands you a banker who knows your name. Same door, same logo, same you. The only thing that changed is the balance, and the balance changes the species. Here is the part they need you to never sit with. The fee the bank charges you at the bottom is what pays for the champagne it pours at the top. That man in the private lounge with the free coffee and the banker who knows his kids' names, he is not being rewarded for being rich. He is being rewarded with your $35. The machine takes from the people who have the least and hands it as service to the people who have the most. And it calls that a relationship, so let's walk in 6 times. Same branch, same face behind the counter, 6 balances, from empty to 25 million. Watch the bank turn into a different animal at every single one, while it swears every single time that it is on your side. And watch for one balance in the middle. There is an exact line where the bank stops charging you and starts paying you to stay. You will know it when you see it. Most people spend their whole lives on the wrong side of it and never learn it was there. 0. The product. At the bottom, you think you are the customer. You are not. You are the raw material. Here's how a bank actually makes money, because almost no one explains it. You put your money in. They pay you on a normal savings account at a big bank. About 1 cent on every $100 a year. Basically nothing. Then they take that same money and lend it back out. As a mortgage, a car loan, a credit line at around 7%. The gap between what they pay you and what they charge everyone else is the entire business. Your deposit was never being kept safe for you. It was inventory and they were selling it the whole time. When your balance is small, that gap is small. So they make their money off you a different way. Fees, the overdraft, at the banks that still play this game, around $35 to spot you 20 until Friday. The maintenance fee, the ATM fee, the paper statement fee. Being at 0 is expensive on purpose because a customer with nothing is worth almost nothing on the lending side, and the only way left to profit from you is to charge you for the privilege of being broke. The teller is kind about it. She slides the notice across and says quietly, "There's a fee on the account. Is there anything else I can help you with?" There is nothing else. The fee is the help. You are not being served here. You are being harvested. $2,500, the minimum. Now you have a little cushion and the bank offers you a deal that sounds like generosity and isn't. Keep at least $1,500 in the account at all times and they will waive the $12 monthly fee. Read that again slowly because it is one of the quietest cons in your financial life. They are asking you to leave your money sitting still. Money they are lending out at 7% while paying you 1 cent. And in exchange for letting them do that, they will agree not to charge you $12 a month to hold it. You're paying a fee in the form of lost interest for the right to not pay a fee. You're lending them your money and thanking them for taking it. Miss the minimum for 1 month, a rough week, a big car repair, the balance dips to $1,400, and the $12 comes right back. Looks like the balance dropped below the threshold, the app says with a little exclamation point, like it's doing you a favor by mentioning it. Notice what changed from the last rung because it's the cruelest part. At 0, the bank charged you for having nothing. Here, it charges you for almost having enough. For the single crime of a balance that dipped on a bad week. The punishment didn't stop when you started doing better. It just quietly changed its reason. At the minimum, the bank isn't charging you for a service. It's charging you for slipping. The floor doesn't want your business. It wants your obedience. $25,000. The relationship, something strange happens here. The bank gets nice. The fees quietly stop. A person, an actual named person, emails you and calls himself your relationship banker. He has a card. He says, anytime you need anything, you come straight to me. You don't wait in that line. For the first time in your life, the bank is warm. It feels like friendship. It is not. Understand exactly what changed because it wasn't their heart. At $25,000, the money they make lending your balance out finally covers what it costs them to have you as a customer. You crossed from a cost into a profit. The moment you became worth more kept the nickel and dimed, the nickel and diming stopped. Not one day sooner. The warmth is not a gift. It is a math result that happened to feel like being liked, and you will be a little embarrassed by how good it feels. That's the parts worth sitting with. You're a grown adult, and the first time an institution treats you like a person instead of a liability, something in your chest actually loosens. You didn't know how braced you'd been until it stopped. $25,000 is what it cost to be spoken to like a human being by a company that had your money the whole time. Notice the velvet rope by the offices at the back. You're allowed to look at it now. You're not allowed through it yet. The bank never starts being kind to you for free. It starts the exact day your kindness turns a profit. $150,000, the private client. This is the rope. At a bank like Chase, $150,000 across your accounts makes you a private client, and the whole relationship inverts. Every fee, gone. Overdraft, wire, the monthly charge, zero. Use any ATM on earth, any bank, any country, and the fee gets refunded to you automatically. You get a dedicated banker and a separate phone number that doesn't route through the hold music. Your mortgage rate comes down. The velvet rope opens and there's coffee behind it. Here's the mechanism, and it is the whole secret of the video. At the bottom, the bank profited from your mistakes. Up here, your deposit is finally large enough that the spread, the gap between the near nothing they pay you and the 7% they lend it at, is worth more than any fee they could ever squeeze from you. So they stop squeezing. They start competing. $150,000 of your money lent out earns them more than enough to hand you free ATMs and a smiling banker and still come out ahead. They did not start being generous. Charging you simply became less profitable than keeping you. The banker shakes your hand and says, "We're just really glad to have the relationship." What he means is, we've run the numbers on you and you finally clear. And you'll feel yourself start to believe it, that you've made it, that you're on the inside now. Sit with what the inside actually is. $150,000 is a good life's worth of saving, decades of doing everything right, and what it buys is a bank's affection and a refunded ATM fee anywhere in the world. The rope opened, and that's real. But you're standing in the first room past it, and there are 3 more rooms you still can't see. And the people in those rooms think about $150,000 the way you once thought about $150. At the bottom, the bank charged you to stay. Here, it pays you too. Somewhere between those 2 sentences was the most important line in your financial life, and you just crossed it. $1 million. The private bank. Now it stops being a bank at all and starts being a concierge. At $1 million, at a firm like Citi's private client tier, you get a private banker who knows your kids' names, who texts you back on a Sunday, who exists to make friction disappear before you feel it. And you get the thing the rich actually come for, the part nobody at the bottom is ever shown. You can now borrow against your own investments without selling them. Your million sits there, still invested, still growing, and the bank lends you cash against it at a rate often lower than a mortgage. Why does that matter? Because when you sell something for a gain, you owe tax. When you borrow, you owe nothing. A loan is not income. So the wealthy don't sell. They borrow against what they own, spend the loan, and never trigger the tax. They call it buy, borrow, die. And the die is the darkest part. When they pass it to their heirs, the gains get wiped clean and the tax nobody ever paid simply disappears. It is completely legal, and it is sitting in the same building that charged the zero balance you $35 for going 20 under. Picture it plainly. You have $1 million invested and you want $200,000 for a house, a year off, whatever. The bottom balance version of you would have had to sell or borrow at credit card rates and hand a slice to the taxman either way. You just call the banker. He lends you the $200,000 against a portfolio at a rate below a mortgage, and your $1 million never moves. It keeps growing while you spend money you technically never earned. You did not get ahead of the person at the bottom by working harder than him. You got access to a cheaper kind of money. And the cheaper your money is, the less of your life each dollar costs you. The banker pours the coffee himself and says, "Let's make sure your money's working as hard as you did." It already is. It's working on the floor below as somebody else's car loan. At the bottom, the bank lent your money to strangers. At the top, it lends you strangers' money cheaper than it ever lent it to anyone. Same building, opposite ends of the same pipe. $25 million. The family office. At the top, there is no counter, no line, no app with an exclamation point. There is a team, a dedicated desk of people whose entire job is your money, and at this level, the bank stops making money off you and starts making money with you. You get shown the deals the public never sees, the private placements, the pre-public shares, the allocations handed out before anything hits an app. The bank brings you the opportunity first because your $25 million is not a deposit to be squeezed anymore. It's a partnership to be kept. You have become an institution that another institution negotiates with. Understand what that access is actually worth because it is the quiet engine of how the rich stay rich. When a company is about to go public, the shares get handed out first, quietly, at a set price, to the institutions and the family offices. By the time that same stock reaches the app on the floor below, where the zero balance you is buying a single share, the early allocation up here has already captured the pop the small investor is buying into. The small investor doesn't lose because he's foolish. He loses because he was never in the room where the price was decided. Down there, you buy what's for sale. Up here, you're shown it before it's for sale to anyone. Someone on the desk says, "We'll take care of it. You don't need to think about it." And that right there is the entire product, not the returns, the not thinking. At the bottom, you thought about money every waking hour because a fee could wreck your week. At the top, the thinking has been hired away. And here's where the whole ladder finally shows its shape. The bank has exactly one product and it was always you. At the bottom, it sold you. At the top, it serves you. It never once changed what it was, only what you were worth to it. Same glass doors, same logo. You've walked through them 6 times now and 6 different companies looked back. At 0, it sold your mistakes. At 2,500, it charged you for slipping. At 25,000, it learned your name the day your name turned a profit. At 150, it opened the rope. At $1 million, it handed you the pipe. At 25 million, it pulled up a chair. And the money to pay for that chair, the champagne, the concierge, the banker on a Sunday, some of it came from the $35 it took from the version of you that had nothing. The bottom has always funded the top. That is not a flaw in the machine. That is the machine. You can't jump to the top of this ladder today, but you can stop feeding the part of it that eats people who look like you did at the bottom. The zero balance you closes the app and opens the account somewhere that doesn't charge a human being for being poor. A credit union, one of the banks that killed the overdraft fee. It's a small move. It's one rung. The bank was never going to stop being 6 companies. You just don't have to keep being the one it sells.